Hello and welcome to the Inspiring Life School podcast. This is your host, Frances Vidakovic, and on this podcast, I'll be sharing with you the most valuable strategies to live your one wildly beautiful and most precious life. Because this is it, my friend. In case you haven't guessed, when it comes to life, there's no rewind or pause button that exists. They say that the way that you spend your days is the way that you spend your life. So my one and only goal here is to help you stop wasting your time, stop holding yourself back in life, stop experiencing non-stop negative mind chatter, stop just dreaming without doing, and start living life fearlessly instead, with more purpose, focus, and intention. I sincerely want you to live life in a way that when you come to the end of it, you know deep down in your heart that you 100% gave it your all, flaws and all. This podcast is not about doing life perfectly. Instead, it is about experiencing and living life with more clarity and courage and truly appreciating this precious adventure that we are so blessed to be on. So if you're with me here today, it's time to stop spinning in circles, get off the hamster wheel for good, put your hands back on the steering wheel of your life, and finally start living life in a way that you won't later regret. With that being said, let's dive on in. Hello, my friends, and welcome to the Inspiring Life School podcast. I'm your host, Frances Vidakovic, and before we dig into this episode today, which is going to be a juicy one, it's a tough love episode where I encourage you to stop making everything a problem in your life. I just want to say that I am so excited that Inspiring Life Academy, the doors to it are finally open. So if you're wondering, what is she even talking about? What is this Inspiring Life Academy? Make sure to check out the website. It's inspiringmumlife.com/academy. And I've also just recorded for you a bonus episode where I chat to you what you can find inside, which is pretty much every single course and every single coaching roadmap that I've ever created in my business. It's honestly amazing and massive, and I cannot wait to welcome you inside. So with that being said, today's episode is all about how to not make every single thing in your life a problem. So I think it's best to just start by defining what actually does a problem even mean. So Google says a problem is a matter or a situation regarded as unwelcome or harmful and needing to be dealt with and overcome. So the interesting thing about this definition is that it includes these adjectives, unwelcome and harmful, which are really subject to our own personal opinions. So what I think is unwelcome might not be unwelcome to you, and vice versa. So let's just say, for example, a friend rings your doorbell tonight. It's like 9 or 10 this evening, and they're randomly popping over, maybe with a bottle of wine to say hi. Now, you might think that's a great thing. Like, yeah, I love having visitors over whenever they come, no matter what time of the day it is. Whereas for me, at that time of the evening, I'm usually settled down with a book, I'm cozy in my PJs, so that wouldn't be the most welcoming thing to take place in my life unless I had some pre-warning. And then you might have the example of, let's just say, losing your job. Now, this might not be a welcome event for someone who loves their job and then they depend on that income. It could seriously suck. Whereas for someone else who might have been debating for months about how are they going to leave their job, they hate it, that event, to be fired, might be welcome, and it could in fact be the best thing ever. So I want to talk about the second part of the definition, which is harmful. Well, harmful depends on what you think is harmful. We might all consider that, if someone's inflicting physical pain on you, that's harmful. But what about emotional pain? What about someone overstepping their boundaries? What do these words even mean to you, like harmful and unwelcome? Your answer to this question is definitely going to help you understand what constitutes a real problem in your life. Now, I want to say something that a lot of people think is untrue and also quite controversial, but I'm going to say it anyway. And it's this. It's only a problem, something is only a problem in your life if you think it's a problem, you've decided it's a problem. So just say, for example, if your partner comes home today and he puts up his feet to have a rest, that's only a problem if you think it's a problem. Or let's just say your appointment or an event gets cancelled, maybe a party that you were expecting to go to. It's only a problem if you think it's a problem. Or let's just say your kids are sick and they miss school. It's only a problem if you think it's a problem. Now, I could go on and on here with examples, but basically any situation that occurs in your life, literally anything, until you decide to think thoughts about that situation, thoughts that deem the situation to be a problem, you're deciding that with your brain, only then is it a problem. Okay, if you don't think it's a problem, it's not a problem. Now, I know that this concept might sound totally crazy to you, especially if you've never considered this before, but it's definitely true. Your problems are personal problems, in that it's your perception that deems it to be a problem. Because there are people in this world right now who are experiencing things that you would 100% consider to be a problem, but they don't think it's even an issue. There are people who have partners who like to drink or maybe smoke or take drugs, and they don't care. It's not a problem to them. You could have parents who have toddlers who throw tantrums day and night, and they don't care. They don't think it's a problem. Or you could have someone who attracts a lot of negative attention and someone's always looking at them in a weird way. And once again, they don't consider this to be a problem. So you might have a long list of things that you would put under the potential problem category. And I just want to introduce this idea to you that other people might not see it as a problem due to a different perception. Okay, and this occurs in all the different areas of our life, like from relationships to health, even when you're working on goals. So many of us have this idea that it's a real problem that we're not getting to our goals quick enough, that it should be happening faster, that we shouldn't ever experience failure. And someone else, like me, might not even think that that is a problem. That's just the way it is. So with that being said, okay, now that you know that problems come down to your perception of all the situations in your life, you get to decide what is a problem with thoughts you are thinking in your brain. I want you to do a stock take of the sort of problems that you're currently experiencing in life, or note the sort of problems that you think you have on a pretty regular basis. So just some questions to get us started. Okay, so the first question is, what problems did you face today? What sort of problems did you face today? Or I probably should rephrase that question and ask you instead, what did you decide today with your thoughts was a problem? Now, did you have just a few problems or were there many? Were they little problems or were they big problems? And have you ever considered before that you could potentially reframe the way that you choose to look at the situations in your life? Like for me, I call anything that would be deemed to be a problem, so the things that you might consider to be a problem, I call them obstacles and hurdles instead. Now, before you think this is like sort of the same thing, like same crap, different smell, I want to point out to you that I love obstacles. I love hurdles. I see them as an opportunity. I'm like the kid that was obsessed with Nancy Drew and Encyclopedia Brown when I was young. I wanted to grow up to be a detective. And if there was ever a challenge or a problem that needed to be solved, I wanted to find a way to solve it. And it continues to this day. So when I see a hurdle, or what you might call a problem, I try to find a solution. I want to find a way to jump over this hurdle. So if this simple word swap helps when it comes to the way that you're thinking about problems, go ahead and do the same. Call it an obstacle or a hurdle instead of a problem. And just keep in mind that obstacles and hurdles are potentially just disguised opportunities. It's like that quote by Winston Churchill. I'm sure he was the one that said, the pessimist sees difficulty in every opportunity, whereas the optimist sees opportunity in every difficulty. Okay, just something to keep in mind. So back to this very novel idea that we are the creators of the problems in our life because we get to decide what we choose to think is a problem. I want you now to do a stock take on the things that you automatically think are a problem in life. So what do you consider to be a problem in your life right now? Now for me, I'm going to share with you an example, and I swear it pops up for me so often. It has to do with my family leaving dishes in the sink without washing them immediately. And the reason that I like to use this example is because I can see the way it flips in my brain that some days I think it's a real problem and some days I don't think it's a problem at all. And this all depends on what I am choosing to think about the situations. So on the days that I'm thinking, okay, they're running late, at least they put the dishes to the sink rather than leaving them on the table. So that's a win. I'm going to give them credit for that. On those days, okay, it's not really a problem. On the other days when I'm thinking thoughts like, okay, my kids, my husband, they've been super inconsiderate. They're never going to learn. They should know better. Surprise, surprise. Okay, the dishes are a massive problem for me on these days because of the thoughts that I'm thinking. Now, I know it's a pretty basic example that I'm mentioning, but I'm using it to illustrate to you that what you deem to be a problem on any given day, it can change, but it all depends on what you're choosing to think about the situation. Now, this isn't to say that you can't have, or that you won't have, or that you shouldn't have problems in your life, because we're humans, okay? We've got a human brain. Of course, we're going to go through ups and downs and highs and lows in life, but I want to encourage you not to make every single thing a problem, so that even when your life is going super smooth, your brain is still so focused on finding fault with everything and everyone that you just go ahead and create problems out of thin air. Well, it's never really out of thin air, like you're creating them with the thoughts that you're thinking, but because your brain is stuck in this default mode where you complain about every single issue and you find issues with even the most minute details, that is going to drive you crazy. That is when you are creating problems unnecessarily for yourself and when you are making mountains out of tiny little molehills. So how do you stop? Well, you begin by becoming a watcher of your own thoughts and understanding that problems, okay, are created from inside your brain. You get to decide what you think a problem is. And what I've often found to be true is that something isn't a problem when you know that you can cope. Something isn't a problem when you know that you're strong and resilient. So a simple place to start when it comes to deciding to think differently about situations is this. Ask yourself, is this really a problem or am I making it a problem? Are there people in this world who wouldn't think that this is a problem? It's okay, like you can still think it is, but is there a different way of looking at this situation? What would it be like to give myself and others the benefit of the doubt? What if this situation is actually an opportunity or a blessing in disguise? And what do I need to think and how do I think differently in order to let this go? What if I just decided right now that today, at this moment, that this isn't a problem that I need to worry about? Now, I promise you, a life with fewer problems is much more enjoyable than a life with 101 problems. So just make sure that you're not unnecessarily creating problems out of thin air with your brain, and you know that you can choose to think whatever you want about yourself and the world around you. You can choose to think differently about these perceived problems. And your greatest power and your ability to create true joy and calm in your life is going to come from those thoughts you are choosing to think every day. Okay, so be a problem solver as opposed to a problem dweller. So with that being said, if you want to take this work even deeper, I encourage you to join the Inspiring Life Academy today. This is exactly the work that we do inside the Academy. We start by changing your thoughts, changing the way that you think about yourself and others and your goals, and then we come up with a proper strategic game plan, and you take action on that game plan while doing your best to manage your mind, your time and life better in a way that actually supports you showing up as the best version of yourself. Just one day, one step at a time. So if you want to learn more about the Academy, make sure to check out inspiringmumlife.com/academy. I'd love to welcome you inside with open arms. And as always, please know that I'm pretty much here to help you get what you want in life, whether they're relationship goals, business goals, career goals, health goals. I can show you how to get there with ease. And the secret is now inside the Inspiring Life Academy. So until next time, my friend, take care, and I will catch you either inside the Academy or on the next episode. Thank you so much for listening to the Inspiring Life School podcast. I really appreciate you allowing me to be a part of your life. If you'd love to stay in touch, please know that you can always find me on Instagram at Vidakovic, or you can visit my website, inspiringmumlife.com, where you can sign up and receive so many amazing freebies that I've created just for you to help you implement all my teachings into practice. There you'll also find all my online courses, resources and programs that I've created to help you up-level your life in seriously the simplest way possible, so that you can ultimately create for yourself a life that feels simpler, lighter, and allows you to show up in a way that you love as your best and most authentic version of yourself. Now remember, this podcast is all about not just dreaming but also doing, because to create true sustainable change in your life, you need to be willing to do things differently. And that's what I'm here to support you to do every single step along the way, so that you too can begin to live your one wild and precious life with less stress, less overwhelm, less drama, and instead with zero regrets. Finally, if this podcast resonates with you at all and you appreciate the content, I would absolutely love for you to show your support by leaving me a review on Apple Podcasts. I'm on a mission to help more people wake up to the preciousness of life and to help them live their days with more intention and purpose, and your review will help make this goal of mine possible. Well, once again, thank you so much. I have loved spending this time with you, and I look forward to connecting with you again. I am Vidakovic, and you have been listening to the Inspiring Life School podcast.